or of Gaddafi's family might come to the hotel and try to use us as human shields. And this is why none of the networks responded to their journalists. None of the capitals and governments responded to their journalists. And none of the international organizations were responding to them. It was because of separate channels through Congressman Fontroy that we got out. And and that is the honest truth. It was not because of the networks or because of any of those capitals. They wanted us to stay in that hotel. And a lot of good people, volunteers, such as the cook, who went out and fought and would come back to make our food, to make sure we could have food. There are people who gave their lives. There's some people I don't know what happened to them, you know. But there was really good people who gave their lives, people that I'm very proud of, and I will never apologize for knowing. In fact, there was people there that, because of some of their politics, I stayed my distance from them. But in the end, they ended up being heroes, including one Dr. Zidane, a man whose name I'm going to mention with pride, and I don't know where he is right now, but he ended up being a hero. And Libya is filled with heroes like this, people who put their lives on the line, not only for themselves, but for internationals like me who had the luxury of leaving the nightmare that NATO created there. And let me be very frank. Tripoli looks like Kabul. It looks like Civil War Beirut. I was in the vehicle with, there's more security checkpoints now than there was before. And it looks like the Taliban took over. You know, I'm not saying that necessarily everybody amongst the rebels is bad, but I am telling you that there are very, very, very dangerous elements amongst them. It is not a homogeneous body, and it does include people and organizations that we have been told are terrorists. So the global war on terror is an absolute fraud when the United States is bringing in jihadists from all over the world through the Egyptian border into Libya. What is happening in Libya is a crime. There are gangs going home to home, raping women, cutting their breasts off, burning them with cigarettes and torturing them. People are being tortured, beheaded, mutilated. Even their heads are put on spikes. What is that? What is that? I don't see that as a democratic movement whatsoever. I am not denying any agency in Libya, and I'm not denying that there are some people who disagree with the government and have a different vision. But the fact is, they've been marginalized. It's the United States and NATO that call the shots, and it is foreign troops that are directing the rebels there. I can tell you that as a witness, someone who's been there. I can tell you that Qatari troops are there, troops from the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, who have even made their own YouTube videos when they are on at the gates of their embassies with pride, saying we reached our embassy in Tripoli. I can tell you that there are British forces on the ground there directing things, and I believe there's a scandal now in London over this, and the British Parliament is discussing this, because there is some evidence that's showing that are British nationals directing this on the ground. I was told by people who were fighting and coming back to the hotel, these are people who were on the verge of death, they had nothing to lie about, that they fought with French troops there who were ordering the so-called rebels. This is a colonial war, it's targeting Africa, and if Libya was left alone to decide its own fate, I am sure it would have been the engine of Africa, just like how Germany after the war became the engine of European economic development. And what they have done is unforgivable. These are Nuremberg crimes. So our government here is involved in Nuremberg crimes. And I will go. Yes, Mr. Harper is definitely. Definitely. It's because of our values as Canadians and as human beings. So this is more than just our Canadian values. Because of those values, those universal values we have, we should oppose this war. There's no way the democracy comes from top down. No way. It doesn't come with foreign armies. History's taught us that, and children in schools can tell us that. So why don't these world leaders acknowledge that? Why don't they acknowledge that? Why has Tripoli been turned into a shooting gallery? And they did carpet bomb Tripoli. They carpet bombed the cities in the west. They carpet bombed neighborhoods. People in hospitals were abandoned to die. In fact, The international press is witness to what they did in the Mediterranean Sea. This so-called war, humanitarian war, did not even save any of those migrant workers or any of those refugees in those boats in the Mediterranean Sea. And this is confirmed. It's confirmed and documented by the news networks themselves. So what humanitarian war is this? They're there to save people's lives, yet they let people die in the ocean, in the Mediterranean Ocean? No, not at all. I want to address two very important points in this, about this war. It was started through the partnership of NGOs and international organizations at the level of the United Nations and on the ground in Libya. And it was started by the media. It is a full-fledged media war. The media has betrayed the trust the public has in it. It's betrayed its duty. I spoke to a gentleman who used to work for the CBC in Montreal. He was very happy about what I said. He was very happy, and that says a lot. But the media, the foreign media, has been part and parcel of this war. They lied. They lied about everything, including Al Jazeera. The three big lies were, and I will start, the three big lies were, Gaddafi massacred his own people. And I will elaborate on that. This is not true, and I will go into that. The second one was he used military jets to target civilians and protesters. This is not true, and if anybody here has a military background, they'll know that that's preposterous. That you do not use jets to fire on civilians like that. Third, and there's sad, Mr. Harper, Mr. Obama, Monsieur Sarkozy, Prime Minister David Cameron, all have the satellite technology to see if that happened. And it did not happen, because the Russians and others have produced the evidence that that did not happen. That did not happen, and NATO knows that very well. The third point is the mercenaries, which is very important, and it proves how ignorant the rest of the world is. They portrayed black-skinned Libyans, okay? And I feel dirty for even going into the subject, because nobody should question whether they're Libyan or not. Okay? Right. They portrayed them as foreign mercenaries in their own country. That is not true. To be an Arab is not any specific phenotype or physical look. It is nothing but to speak Arabic and to have a culture based around that language. You can be an Arab. You can be an Arab and you can be a Jew. You can be a Christian. You can be a Muslim. Michelle just talked about the Christian community in Syria. They have a Jewish community as well, and a Druze community alongside the Muslims. They've been living together in peace for hundreds of years. Lebanon is the same thing. They've had problems, yes, but you have to ask yourself how much of this has been fueled by the outside. But going back to what it means to be an Arab, it's just that language. So if you look at Sudan, you see clearly an African country where people are mostly dark-skinned, black-skinned. Libya is the same thing. The population's mixed. You can have someone who's blonde and looks like they're from Scandinavia, or you can have someone who has a Mediterranean complexion and looks like me. Or you can have someone who is dark-skinned and looks like Cynthia. Yes! Yes. And it is an outrage to steal their nationality away from them. These are people who contributed to that country. These are people who defend that country. And to say they're not Libyan is an insult to me on a personal... It hurts me a lot to say this. How dare anybody say they're not Libyan? They've worked in that country, they've lived in that country, and they're Libyan just as much as anybody else. And for the media to say these are mercenaries, this is so sinful. I can't find a worse word for it. So these people were portrayed as mercenaries by the same governments who use mercenaries. The United States is the biggest contractor of militaries in the world. France has a foreign legion. The British have the mercenaries. They even use a Burqa brigade.
The Gurkhas.
Yes, I'm sorry. But these countries use mercenaries. And let me tell you, when they made their UN resolution, 1970, they said the countries that they essentially they essentially said that some countries are allowed to use mercenaries and we will not go after them. And that's in the resolutions. And there's a really good reason why they did that. Because they've been taking mercenaries into Libya. Libya has been filled with mercenaries, jihadists, people who have come from outside, Libyans from outside of Libya. And most of the fighters are not Libyan. There's been people who have come from other parts of the world, including many Egyptians who've been captured. And the documents are there in Libya. The documents are there. People have to look for this. They've caught so many Egyptians who've come in there. And some of these Egyptians are misconstrued because they think there's an authentic Arab Spring going on and they've come to help their brothers as they see it. But they've been used. And the Libyan military was not killing them on sight. It was capturing them and saying, go home. That was what was happening at the beginning. That was what was happening at the beginning. And I want to refer to Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera showed Libyan soldiers and forces who were killed. And they said Gaddafi forces killed them. So-called Gaddafi forces. And I'm going to explain why I say so-called Gaddafi forces. Because this is very important to have in your minds for the future when you hear this type of language used. They said Gaddafi forces killed these men because they refused to fire on the protesters. This was what Al Jazeera told the world. It was a lie. The videos came out that it was actually the other side that killed them in cold blood as prisoners. And Al Jazeera should be held accountable for doing that. So should other networks. When they show videos of rape and they claim that it's... CNN, for example, showed a video of a rape in Misurata. The video was from Tripoli. It was a domestic case. It was people that knew each other, but yet they edited the video and they said it was the Libyan military that had raped the woman. There was no proof, and that is also criminal, and there was a lawyer who was going to take action on this. Al Arabiya aired an interview with a man in Misurata, near Tripoli, whose house was bombed. The man said NATO bombed it. NATO did bomb it. Everybody knew NATO bombed it. Yet they lied and said, number one, they lied about the location. They said this is a man in Misurata. And number two, it was Gaddafi forces that did this to him. He's taking them to court too. Because they lied and it caused them a lot of psychological pain. So this is the type of lies the media has been involved in. They even showed pictures of protests against the Iraqi government, which the United States supports. Iraqis were protesting against the government that the US supports in Baghdad. They were saying that's Libya. But you wouldn't know unless you spoke Arabic or you understood the dialects or you recognized Iraq. That's the sort of stuff they were doing.
They're desperate.
This war is on a thread. Like, it's very easy to prove that they're lying. But now I stumbled a little in my thoughts going back to what I wanted to say about the media. The mercenaries is where I was at. They brought in mercenaries, and I want to point something out, that there's also people there that nobody knew whose side they were on. They were involved in vicious torture. They were involved in very vicious acts that once you see, it only can fill your heart with hate. And I think that that was the deliberate intent. There was, for example, a little boy had a metal tube, a metal pole stuck through his testicle, and it went through his body and came out his shoulder. And some people on the other side thought it was this side and some on the other side. It turned out to be, there was no exact proof on who it was, but this created a lot of hate in that country. And those were the types of acts that were being perpetrated there. And a lot of the Libyans were coming to the same conclusion as me. That there was people from the outside that were coming on the ground, try to create hate in that country. You know, wounds that would never heal. They want wounds in that country, because they want to divide that country. And there's been a historic project to divide that country, which is, there's been over 5 efforts to divide Libya since World War II into 3 areas: Fezzan, Cyrenaica, and Tripolitania. Tripolitania is based around Tripoli, the capital of Libya, and the Mediterranean coast to the northwest. Cyrenaica is towards the Egyptian and Sudanese border, and Fezzan is south towards Algeria and Niger. And I want to go into one very important aspect about how they try to divide this country and why they try to divide this country. Because Libya is a part of Africa, which is very clear.